Hi, my name is Miguel López. I am the curator of the exhibition, and if I devoted my life to one of its feathers, developed with the curatorial assistance of Laura Aman. I couldn't travel from Peru due to the pandemic and the ban restrictions in Europe. I wanted to be in Vienna with you all, working with the artists and the amazing teams of Kunsthalle Wien and Wiener Festwochen. The exhibition is looking great, and I'm very much looking forward to hearing your thoughts. First of all, I would like to thank Kunsthalle Wien and Wiener Festwochen for this invitation to develop a new curatorial project. I want to dedicate the exhibition to those who are no longer with us, to all the people who lost friends and relatives during this really difficult year, to everybody that is facing the social, emotional, economic, and affective consequences of the pandemic. The exhibition was scheduled to open in May 2020, but it was put on hold for a year. Here in Lima, Peru, where I am now, the situation is still very complicated, with a collapsed health system and thousands of people dying due to a lack of oxygen. We are not only facing a sanitary emergency, but a crisis of sustainability and social justice. The pandemic affected the whole planet, but its effects are dramatically uneven, especially for those who live in the global south. The title of the show came from a poem by the artist and feminist activist Cecilia Vicuña, written between 1969 and 1972, and you can find it in the exhibition guide. The poem was inspired by a hummingbird that flew into the window of Cecilia's house in Santiago. She took the dying body of the hummingbird in her hands and asked herself, and if I devoted my life to one of its feathers. The poem is a call to wave threads between life and death, body and dust, words and cosmos, human and non-human worlds. The vision of interconnectivity envisioned in Cecilia's poem appears here in the form of a collective dialogue around power, self-representation, healing, collective knowledge, and environmental justice. As you can imagine, the current global crisis is also present in the exhibition in different ways. I am not only talking about the way the pandemic has made us rethink our bodies, but how the COVID-19 crisis revealed the limits of the hegemonic models of development and continuous economic growth, how it invited us to reconsider the meaning of democracy for a post-pandemic world. This emergency has exposed many cracks, and I believe the exhibition is an opportunity to delve into some of them. One of the points of departure of the project was to pay attention on how various works have been addressing the destruction inflicted by neoliberalism and the continuation of extractive logics in the 21st century. As a curator, I aim to create space for collective reflection from perspectives that came from different experiences, concerns, geographies, and political communities. In a moment when we are still facing necessary lockdowns and the closing of borders to contain the coronavirus outbreak, it's extremely important to keep generating platforms for global conversation and international cooperation. Imagining a future based on solidarity and mutual care is the only way to fight the devastating effects of the pandemic. As you will see, the exhibition is not organized around thematic sections. It is more like an invitation to create connections between various narratives, aesthetics, and struggles. I wanted to convene a poetic conversation rather than a theoretic statement. So I hope you find your own ways to move around and experience the show. I don't have time now to go through the whole project, but I want to mention very quickly a few transversal ideas addressed across the exhibition, which looks at how artists from different localities are engaged in opposing the normalization of racist, sexist, and homophobic structures, as well as a model of liberal democracy that is sustained through inequality. An important number of works tackle human supremacy, the idea that humans are unique and superior in relation to other animals and non-human forms. Environmental colonialism and toxic contamination are also very much present. There are various types of textile practices, including embroidery, quilting, and weaving, highlighting the relationships between textile making and feminist practices. The main sculpture in the space is a monumental dyed wool installation, Burned Kipu, by Cecilia Vicuña, that is a response to the recent fire in the Amazons. Some other projects explore intersections between geographies, political thinking, and social movements, such as the Black Panthers and the Zapatista Army of National Liberation, which are at the center of the Zapantera Negra project, based in Chiapas, southern Mexico. Likewise, the collective Stodelat imagines forms of encounter of the Zapatistas' idea and new leftist forces in Russia and Europe. The cruelty perpetrated by patriarchal white nationalist structures and the exclusion of racialized people and migrants is also addressed in works such as the powerful multi-language installation M. Other Land that Babi Badalov created at the entrance of the Kunsthalle, and the commissioned painting by Prabhakar Pachpute around the lowest paid essential workers and the thousands of migrants who moved from densely populated city to rural areas, running away from the pandemic. Some other works called for the knowledge of the sacred plants that were important in the fights against COVID-19 in many indigenous communities, calling for its complementary contribution to modern Western medicine and health technology, such as the paintings by Witoto artist Santiago Yahuarcani and the textile pieces by Shipibo painter and activist Olinda Silvano, Regine Javé. Indigenous people remind us that healing shouldn't be only centered on the individual body, but on restoring the ecological and social balance broken by the imposition of extractive, colonial, and monocultural logics. And if I devoted my life to one of its feathers, reflect on the state of the world from the perspective of the artist's own concerns, geographies, and political communities. I want to highlight again how grateful I am with all the artists and collectives that collaborated in this exhibition, which is a huge endeavor in a moment like this. I really hope you enjoy this unique encounter of amazing works, an assembly of many worlds and multiple forms of awareness that the artists and I invite you to delve into. Thank you.